What's up guys, welcome to part 2 of how I got into med school on The Brain of James. Alright, today I'm going to go over the extracurricular things that I did to get into med school. There's a lot of them, so of course, here are the time links for them. You're welcome. Med schools are looking for certain qualities in applicants. That's why they look at and sometimes even require hours, certain activities from their applicants to make sure that they are an addition to the medical community. To be honest, this area was probably my weakest part of my entire application. My grades and my MCAT score were pretty good. Honestly, if one part of your application stinks, then make sure the other part of the application totally rocks. I really didn't start thinking about completing these kind of things or like looking at what med schools want until about a year before I actually applied. So a lot of these things were really rushed. Honestly, I should have taken a lot more time to do them. A word to the wise, start as early as you possibly can. So first off, I'm going to talk about service. This can come in all shapes, sizes, forms, areas, places. Really just going out there, serving your community, serving the world even, and just finding an activity that works for you, that you enjoy, that you're able to make a difference in. A great many people from my school went to the local hospital and volunteered in the emergency room, things like that. That's great, fine if that works for you. I decided to go to a local children's resource center and volunteer there. My first role was as a mentor. So for 6 months I was assigned to a kid. Every week we would meet up, play games, go to the park. We drew a lot of chalk murals. Don't regret doing that. Great experience. I'm still volunteering with them actually. I'm helping them with their teen resource group. That's really fun. When you're choosing service, just make sure that you choose something that's meaningful to you, that you can really get involved in, that you really care about. That way it can actually show how it changed you as a person. Leadership. So leadership was a bit tricky for me. I did work at a summer camp counselor over young adults, so 16 to 20-ish. That was really fun, really excited about that. A lot of pre-meds, have other options like leading clubs, groups, really anything, service projects, getting involved in something that you care about, and just sticking with it, take a leadership position. And that just shows a lot about what kind of person you are, that you're able to take a lead. The biggest thing about leadership is just being proactive, starting early, finding something that you care about, just going for it. I knew someone that actually got involved in international service groups. So they went the first summer and they paid for it actually. It was like quite a bit of money. But then after that, they went 2 more summers, but then they got paid to be the group leader. Finding opportunities like that is also a great way to help get some experience and also get some service along with that. Alright, so next, let's talk about research. Research is going to be a huge part of your application. If you're applying for the combined PhD programs, that's like going to be your life. Personally, I don't enjoy research as much as other people do. Honestly, my research experience was just a semester. I worked in a microbiology lab. We were studying how E. coli transport certain ions across their cell membranes. Super exciting, obviously. I honestly learned a ton of lab techniques, lab skills, lab practices like PCR, DNA extraction, things like that. Really cool, really enjoyed that part. It was enough for me to say that I worked in a lab, I have research experience. Make sure that you are able to actually tell what your hypothesis was in your research lab. Because if you get into the interview and all you can say is that you washed beakers and plated microbes, not going to look good. Next, let's talk about letters of recommendation. Once again, I started this process a little later than I probably should have, so getting letters of recommendation was a bit of a scramble at the end. The semester that I was applying to med school, I had 2 professors that came out and said, hey, I know that a lot of you are pre-meds. If you need a letter of recommendation, just come to my office. Get to know me and I'll get to know you, and if you do well, then I'll write you a good letter. I got super lucky in that aspect because I went to both professors, I started to get to know them, went to their office hours after classes, asked questions in classes, and tried my hardest to get a good grade because they're not going to be able to write a good letter if you get a bad grade in a class, right? Each med school differs a little bit about what they require as concerning letters. All of them require a letter from a physician as well. That's where shadowing comes in. If you're applying to a DO school, an osteopathy school, a lot of them require letters from a DO. So MD schools I found generally didn't, but once again, up to the individual school. Make sure you do your research. Shadowing. This was probably the most stressful part of my application here. It was so hard to find a doctor to shadow. I don't have any connections to any local doctors or anything like that. Finding a doctor that was willing to shadow, able to shadow, was a little difficult. A lot of the doctors around my area are part of a big group. Trying to shadow them was a nightmare, lots of paperwork, big wait lines, awful. So eventually I had to reach out and I found a couple doctors that were like an hour away from where I live, just running their own little practices, and I was able to go shadow both of them, and it was a fantastic fantastic experience to be able to see what they actually do, be in there with the patients. Of all the things that really helped me understand that I wanted to go to med school, shadowing by far was the biggest one. I loved it. I recommend shadowing as much as you can. Be proactive, get out there and get some shadowing in. I also shadowed a few other kinds of doctors. That played into what school I'm going to end up going to, but I'm going to talk about that later in another video, not in this series. Look forward to that. I was even able to go into the OR, the operating room, for one of the doctors I shadowed. Amazing experience. I totally want to do surgery now. Yeah, shadowing, very informative. Finally, I'm going to talk about patient exposure. How do you get out in the medical field and start interacting with patients? The easiest option that I researched was just getting a certified nursing assistant certificate. It was a 2-week course, cost me a couple $100. It was during the summertime, so it was like 8 hours a day for 2 weeks. And I actually started working at an assisted living home with older people that had dementia, memory problems. So I was in the memory care unit. So many great experiences from doing that. I worked there for 10 months. It was an amazing experience. Honestly, I would not want to do it again because it is a dirty job. I will spare you all the details. But it was a humbling job as well, be able to work with these people. Very educated people sometimes, doctors, lawyers, who just couldn't take care of themselves anymore. So I really enjoyed that, and I wouldn't have changed that experience for anything. Medical assistant is another way to get some patient exposure. Phlebotomist, working in a hospital like an orderly or something like that. I know a lot of people that do that. Working in a private doctor's office is another option. Researching, seeing what options are available to you goes a long way in preparing you with patient exposure. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Sorry this was a long video. That's all the extracurricular things that I did to help my application for med school. Seemed to work. Alright, so my next and last video in this series is going to be about the application and the interviews. So stick around for that, subscribe. If you have any questions or anything, put them down in the comments below. Have a great day and good luck.